Hello and welcome to Cargo Knits. My name is Cole and today we're going to be machine knitting a nice green vest using this sport weight yarn from Hobby. I got a knitting machine about a month ago and since then I've made countless swatches, kind of just like testing gauge, figuring out all that stuff. I got this printable PDF for a gauge ruler because I don't have an actual one, and have ordered a lot of waste yarn from Amazon. I made this blue v-neck vest as like an attempt to learn, and it turned out fine. I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to pick up stitches for the neck. So I paused it because it was making me really frustrated. I made pretty much the entire piece. I made the sleeves. They have a nice 2x1 mock ribbing. Messed around a lot with ribbing, like hand manipulated ribbing. Took way too long, so I'm just gonna wait until I get a ribber, until I can afford a ribber, to start doing ribbing. I started making this tuck stitch vest, but again, I kind of got in over my head and did some wrong measurements because the neckline is way too wide. And also, I messed up in a lot of places, but it's part of learning. So today we're just going to make a very basic green stockinette vest with either 1x1 or 2x1 mock ribbing for the hems. Let's get into it. Alright, so we've got my machine. It's a Studio Mod 700. I got it secondhand on Facebook, which is pretty cool. I'm going for a kind of oversized fit, but also not too baggy, not too deep in the arm. So I did 11 inches for the armhole, which will add 1.5 inches of ribbing for the armband, and same for the collar. I'm going to do 1.5 inches, and then it'll be 7 inches from under the arm to the hem and 3 inches for the hem around. I'm going super simple this time so I don't get my hopes up and spend hours making something that ends up not being good. Alright, so it says you gotta cast on 154 stitches, but I've learned that you should always cast on one extra on each side for seaming. So 78 stitches each side. Handy pusher. And yes, my machine is on a very sturdy desk. Completely. I ordered an A-frame for this. I'm kind of slowly stocking up because this stuff is expensive. I have my claw weights. I have a cast-on comb, but I only have a small one and cannot cast on an entire thing with just that. So I also have all these punch cards, which has been pretty cool. I kind of experimented a lot with the Fair Isle, the tuck stitch, and slip stitches, but I need to make something basic, like I said, so I can learn how to complete a piece. I was hand knitting for a few months before this. I only started this in August of 2023, but I made this sweater. I made a few different sweaters, but ran out of yarn and didn't finish them, but then I kind of became obsessed with machine knitting. So I got one. I'm gonna do, well, first let's see if I can do a 2x1 mock rib. Does that work? No. Whatever, it'll be hidden. So we're gonna start with a waste yarn cast on using E-wrap because, like I said, I don't have a full cast on comb. And then we're gonna, after a few rows, join the green yarn for a folded hem. Alright, we're gonna thread that into the carrot. Some of my needles are a little bent, some have a little bit of rust, but finding good quality cheap replacement needles is not in my budget at the moment. Alright, for the ribbing tension, I have it on 6. And for the main body, I'm going to be doing 7. Bringing all the needles out so I can make it easier for the machine to knit these so nothing falls off while I'm casting on. And I'm only going to do 10 rows of this, so I'll come back once all of that is done. Of course. Love that. Cool. So, cut the waste yarn. I like to clip the spare end so the end doesn't get in the way. And we'll bring in the green. Clip that as well. And we'll just bring it across. So the pattern says to do 30 rows of this, so I'll reset my counter. That was row 1. 30 rows. On the 30th row, I'm going to be turning the tension all the way up to 10 for a turning row. Then 30 more rows. On the 60th row, I'll be joining them with tension 10. So, yeah. And you can kind of already see it's the wrong side, obviously. The 2x1 effect that we're getting. $28, $29. We're gonna stop here. Here we're gonna turn up the tension dial 10. This is just for the turning row to make things, once folded, fall a little flatter. Eventually, I will find better ways to film all of this, but first video, cut some slack. Do one pass. And you can already kind of see here how big those stitches are, so it will definitely help with helping keep that hem nice and flat. We'll go back to tension 6 and we'll do 30 more rows. I know usually for machine knitting you're supposed to have cones of yarn, but I can't for the life of me find good coned yarns anywhere, like locally. I live in LA. All the stores have closed. Online, I'm trying to find good cotton yarn because I found that I love the way non-mercerized cotton feels. And I don't like the shine of mercerized cotton. And if anybody has any recommendations in Southern California or websites that'll have nice cheap yarn besides hobby, I would love to also support local businesses as well. Alright, so we finished up the folded mock rib. And we're going to change this back to tension 10 for another turning row, but it's also the joining row. And we'll bring it across. And this is what we have. I'm going to take the waste yarn off right now, but you can kind of see how much flatter this lays with that turning row. It makes it very nice. To take the waste yarn off, you just clip the opposite end of where the tail is, and then over here you just pull the tail all the way through. Yeah, the yarn breaks sometimes. Easy. Alright, now that that's done, we will change this back to row count 30, change to the main tension, which is going to be tension 7, and knit 70 more rows to row 100, which will be when we do the armhole shaping. I can't wait to get that desk. Yes, I have a very tight space to work with, but it works. a knot in my yarn. Alright, all good. So we've reached row 100, and now we're going to bind off on each side. So to do that, how I have learned to do it is to transfer one stitch over and then transfer both of those stitches back over. Bring this around and manually knit it for these 5 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we just knit across. And then we repeat that for the other side, and I'll meet you back when I'm done with that and show you what it looks like. Alright, so we've done the armhole decreases on both sides, which look good. So now it's just plain knitting up until row 201. We're at 116 right now, so we have a lot more to do, but it'll go pretty quick. So I'll meet you there, and then we're going to start doing shoulder shaping and neck shaping for the back piece. Alright, so it's the next morning now, but I'm at row 195. We have a few more rows to 201, which is when we will start the shoulder shaping. We're going to put the center stitches and the right stitches, because the carriage is on the left, into hold and set the carriage to hold so we can work on just the left side. Knit a row and then start the decreases. And now we just take that shoulder off on waist yarn. Push these back into working position so they can get knit off. Alright, and now we do the other side, and I will show you what it looks like when it's done. I did it with no problems yet. Not bad. It's a little short, but I think it might expand a little bit. If my knowledge is correct, it should. But it looks pretty good. Anyways, this is just part 1. Part 2 will be up soon. I'm gonna make the back panel and show making the collar and the sleeve armbands in the next video. If you like this content and you want to see the rest of the vest once it's complete and the process behind that, like this video and subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Instagram at @CargoKnits. I'm gonna go watch the solar eclipse, which is happening now. Bye.
No, but I don't understand. Yeah, I know. I don't understand how it's just this moon though.
When it's not like that outside.